Thank you everybody for listening today. This is Alcon Media and all the radio stations FM en Eastern Washington. My name is Ulises Navarro from el Centro de la Dignidad y como siempre estoy aquí para ayudarlos y empoderarlos en todo nuestro esplendor. Today we have a really nice guest from Inatai Foundation, one of the biggest founders for Alcon Media, the supporters of the projects for the community. Thank you, Steven Cole-Schwartz. I'm right about your last name, Cole-Schwartz.
That's exactly right. Hi, Ulysses. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you and good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Can you introduce a little bit about yourself to the community here in Eastern Washington, please?
Absolutely. My name is Steven, and I work at the Inatai Foundation. We are a statewide organization that works with leaders and organizations and communities to realize their dreams for a better future and a more racially just future in every corner of Washington. In my role, I am vice president of Grantmaking. So I get to work with hundreds of organizations all across the state every year to ensure that they get the money that they need and the support that they need from our team in order to do their work and follow their dreams to the best of their abilities. And I've been doing this job for 7 years.
7 long years and beautiful years have been helping the community and watching and observing all these organizations that are trying to change something around. Steven, today we're talking about an issue that doesn't always get enough attention: the safety of community-based organizations working directly with immigrants, communities of color, transgender and gender-expansive people, and other groups facing a more hostile political climate. Inatai Foundation has announced a $2 million safety resilience fund offering grants ranging from $25,000 to $27,000 to help Washington organizations strengthen physical security, digital protection, and community safety planning. Can you talk a little bit about this and why is this funding necessary in our communities?
Well, I think it's really important right now to remember that organizations who are advancing equity and racial justice are facing urgent and rapidly changing threats to their safety and security. And safety is not separate from building a more racially just future. It is all part of the same fabric. You know as well as I do that here in the Tri-Cities, the organizations that support our communities are facing attack from all directions. In some cases, it's white supremacist organizations or individual organizers. In other cases, we're beginning to see, and we have been seeing, the federal government and the Trump administration turn its attention towards independent organizations and towards the important systems like voting rights and nonprofit organizations and our ability to participate well in elections. And we have to support the organizations that are supporting people's right to participate in our democracy and people's right to be safe in their own communities.
Who you think, Stephen, who is facing the greatest risk right now in these times?
I think that we can all agree all of our communities are on the edge of needing to access more power and more decision making. So I think about it not as who's under the greatest risk, but rather how do we all pull together? How do queer and transgender people work alongside people who have experience of immigration? And how do we all work alongside communities of color? And how do we all work alongside every other community that we have been told does not have access to power and decision making? And then how do we pull together to ensure that we actually do have not just influence over the choices that affect our lives, but actual power to pull the levers, to make change, to push the buttons that are about owning our own power and owning the direction of our own communities and our own lives?
This fund specifically prioritizes organizations serving immigrants, communities of colors, as I mentioned, transgender and gender expansive people. But what is the more risk connected with this funding? This again, let me repeat the question: what is this funding focus into represent or protect? We're talking about, is this for the people who might be available to apply We're talking about digital online threats, physical threats, probably for immigrants. They're already like facing persecution, people of color. Can you talk a little bit on the who is interested in to apply or can be serving for these funds?
Yeah, the qualifications to apply are very simple. We will fund nonprofit organizations. So an applicant has to be a nonprofit organization and has to believe that their organization is under enhanced threat and enhanced risk of safety concerns right now. So you said earlier, it was really helpful to hear you say this is for organizations who believe that their physical security needs upgrades. And it's for organizations who are doing things like digital security assessments to make sure that they are safe from bad actors. It is for organizations who are doing safety planning with and for their communities. Sometimes this is things like know your rights trainings or developing new tools to be able to communicate with community members better. And it's for organizations who believe that their staff and their volunteers and their boards have really specific physical safety needs as individuals as well.
I would talk here, Stephen, about like for example, cameras, alarm systems, cybersecurity, staff
Yeah.
training, emergency planning, like legal defense can be used for that too.
Legal defense is less of the focus of this fund. We do a lot of support for legal defense work in other areas of our funding. So this supplemental funding is really for those areas that you described around things like cameras. That's a great example. Changing security systems, improving digital security, and doing that safety planning. That's really the heart of what we're trying to do. And as you said, the grants are meaningful, but they're not huge. So $25,000 to $75,000 at the most to address real needs that are really present that folks have real plans for.
One of the things that I've been facing as a media company, as I work with different journalists. I just went to the Indigenous Media Conference. I was able to assist. Thank you for Diana, and she allowed me to go there, held me together, and I learned so much about the importance to protect our journalists, protect our leaders in the cybersecurity area. Right? We're talking
Yeah.
about. We don't know if the emails that we are sending are being there are security. If we don't know if somebody is reading these emails, if the government or somebody else, it's any other group are reading the emails about like talking about security, talking about our immigrants, brothers and sisters. Probably this phone can be used to protect communications and all these people that are trying to build something. Right now, we want to say secretly because we have to be sometimes really under the table because we don't want to um, put in the light in the spotlight the people who's facing family separation, or they are reporting the corruption of the government, right? Or they are like trying to change some like state bills or want to work for some politics or right? This can be used as you say 25,000 probably is not too much, but it can help to build a base, strong base to protect the people who serve, right?
And I think you're pointing at two things that are really important here in the way you just asked that. One is the funding is for organizations more than it is for individuals because we understand organizations have to exist in order to be an umbrella and a connector between lots of different individuals. So whether that is, like, for example, Alcon as a media company being an umbrella and a connector for many journalists, or for a community organization to be a connector for many different organizers and community members. So that's one reason we're thinking about this as supporting organizations and their security so that they can be great hubs in the community. And then the second thing you're pointing out that I think is really important is we are hoping to support and we are expecting to support really specific ideas that people have. So the kinds of examples that you're offering, I am not an expert on digital security by any means. But if someone is able to apply, especially an organization that doesn't have the resources on hand to dedicate towards this work themselves, just into like on hand right away, we want to be able to support those very specific actionable ideas that address really specific threats that folks are facing right now.
Excellent, Steve. This is for 501c4s and 501c3. We know it's a big difference. Some of them, they can be political include. Other ones have to step back a little bit. The announcement used the phrase growing political hostility. What does Inatai mean by that?
I think by growing political hostility, we all know that there are elected officials and there are people working in our government who are trying to undermine our community's faith in democracy and undermine our community's ability to connect with each other. And one way that they are doing that is by putting unnecessary scrutiny, by launching investigations, by doing lawsuits against independent, nonprofit 501c3 and 501c4 organizations all over the country. And we know it's not just all over the country because we know ourselves some of these organizations who we love and who represent our communities and who are advancing racial justice by building power, they're working right here at home. So I think of organizations like in Tri-Cities, LULAC, for example, who are striving to ensure that we can implement the Washington Voting Rights Act or the Tri-Cities Diversity and Inclusion Council, who works with local governments to make sure that we are training, that we are embedding principles of diversity and equity into the work that we do. And a variety of other organizations who just are facing a lot more questions and sometimes just unnecessary scrutiny that is trying to interrupt their work. Those are the organizations and many others like them that are working in this part of the state that we want to make sure that we are supporting at this time.
Excellent, Steve. Well, I think we have a little bit more clear everything. I want to know how will recipients be chosen and how will be this process?
Well, the most important thing that we think about at Inatai for all of our grant making is to prioritize organizations and communities and people who have historically had the least access to foundations like ours and who have the least current proximity to foundations like ours. That is, folks who have been locked out of philanthropy and of receiving donations like this. They're who we are always thinking about first. And that can look like a lot of things. So you've already said, we're very focused on supporting immigrant-led, immigrant-serving organizations. We're very interested in supporting organizations that are led by and for gay and transgender people all across Washington. We're especially interested in supporting organizations and leaders who are working in places that haven't had a lot of access and proximity to philanthropic resources. So for those, we think about organizations working in places like Ephrata, working in places like Othello, working across Lincoln County, all in Southeast Washington. And yes, we think about Franklin County as well. But the place that we're always trying to think about is how does someone's lived experience, the experience of race and ethnicity, the experience of their own gender, and where they live impact their ability to access resources? And those are the folks who we're thinking about first and foremost when we are assessing opportunities to give away this money.
I'm an organization, an example, and I'm listening to this, and I want to be like, I want to make sure that I can have this access to this funding, or probably know if I'm available to do it. Does any organization need to document a specific threat, or it's just enough to demonstrate that it works with a community facing disproportionate risk?
We want to know specifics. We want to know to the degree possible that an organization who is filling out an application can share with us what they believe they're facing in terms of their security risk and why they think that's true and what they want to do about it. So it's a very simple application that we ask people to fill out, just those 3 questions, in addition to the questions about who the organization is, where they work, all the rest of the regular stuff. We just want to know what's the threat, why do you think it's a threat, and what do you want to do about it? And so we do ask for those specifics.
Releasing a problem and a solution.
Yeah, that's right. And we're a funder that really believes, I mean, I'm a leader that believes, and I know you are too, Communities are the experts in our own lives. And so we really want to and will trust what organizations share with us if they have a credible belief that their safety and their security is under real threat and under real risk right now.
And this is one of the other questions that I want to lead after this is how Inatai make sure that these funds are really used for safety and security while also avoiding requirements that could force organizations to publicly disclose sensitive information.
Yeah, we really want organizations to keep truly private information private to them. We don't need to know all the details. We do ask for enough to be able to make a decision, and organizations that apply can visit us online at inatai.org. That's inatai.org to find information about our funding application. They are due tomorrow. They are due on Tuesday, August 18th. So the deadline is coming up really quickly. I think when someone logs in to learn more about the application and to learn more about the funding, they will find that we are really interested in knowing enough to be able to make a choice, but not so much that we put anybody's privacy at risk.
It would be an extension in case of more organizations try to apply.
We do offer extensions from time to time, but I can't say right now whether there will be an extension. It'll depend on what we receive and what we learn from communities tomorrow. I do know that we will want to make decisions about everything we receive by the application deadline as quickly as we can so that we can make sure funds are received by community. And I have really exciting news to share as well, if I can.
Excellent. And another question, Steve, I have for you is, when do you expect organizations to be notified and when can fund actually become available for this funding?
Yeah, notifications of awards will go out in the fall. It'll take several weeks to review all the applications we receive because we're asking for applications from organizations for lots of different work at the same time. This is one really important area of work, this $2 million that we're talking about today. And organizations will also see when they visit us online that there's many other opportunities for funding available at the same time.
Thank you so much for those good information to all the community, the listeners, leaders, social leaders, organizations, executives to remember inatai.org, right? Organización, ORG. Inatai, ORG. Inatai es INATAI latina.org. Para todos aquellos que hablan español. This will be translated in Spanish too. I want to try to do it today, right now in this moment, so you can apply and you can have this message right now in your house. And for last, Steven, we're talking about $2 million, right? We're talking about money, but the real talk is people, right? The real focus is community. What would you say to a community leader who is afraid to do their work public because they're threats or because a political climate they are facing right now?
I've already read some applications, and I've been doing this for work for long enough to be able to tell you and to tell that leader, what you're facing is real. This is a scary time. This is a time where our organizations, the people that we work with in our communities, the things that we work for, like having decision-making power, being able to vote, access to citizenship pathways, these are actually under threat. And I want you to know, like, we at Inatai see that, and I want you to know personally, it really is happening, and you are not alone at this time. There are other people who are also working on this, who also care deeply about you, about your organization, and about your community members. I hope that we can build together the kind of trust where you can share your experiences and stories about your community authentically and openly, but it may take time for us to be in that relationship and to build that trust. But Inatai is here for a long time. We are here and we will continue to be here for generations of support for organizations and communities who have not had access to these kinds of resources before. So if it takes time for us to get to a place where in our relationship where community leaders feel like they can trust us with their full story, we are ready to be patient. And in the meantime, we just want everyone to know we see that this is actually scary. It is actually really happening, and we are on your side.
Muchísimas gracias, Steven. I appreciate the words, the kind words of you. Steven Cole-Schwartz is a vice president of Grantmaking at Inatai Foundation. The foundation has launched a 2 million safety and resilience for community-based organizations across Washington, with grants ranging from $25,000 to $75,000 for physical security, digital protection, and community safety planning. Steven, thank you so much again. Thank you for joining me for this time to take time to talk with the community on Eastern Washington. I know you are pretty busy. Everybody's really busy in this organization. I see always in LinkedIn. I see you guys on Instagram. I see you traveling everywhere in the state. It's all hard work, and we are human beings. We feel, and sometimes it's hard to know so many communities facing injustice, facing all these issues with actual politics, and that's good that you guys try to build something for protection. Thank you so much, and from Alcon Media and from my heart, thank you, because you guys are helping us to provide so many good information and services to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ulises. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Gracias. Thank you. I want to finish the recording. This is Alcon Media. Mi nombre es Ulises Navarro. Muchas gracias a toda la gente que nos escucha. Recuerden que pueden ver esto en YouTube, en Spotify y también en nuestros canales de radio FM, en donde quiera que se encuentre, desde Moses Lake hasta Pendleton, Oregon, desde Walla Walla hasta el Valle de Yakima. Con ustedes, Ulises Navarro. Muchas gracias, Steven. Thank you.